Please be advised that this video is for the sole purpose of entertainment. Any views are purely my own, are subjective and may not necessarily be true. I do, however, do extensive research for all of my videos. All photos have been found on the public domain. I am using them under the fair use and fair dealing guidelines. I urge everybody to do their own research. Well, hello, it's Murky Meg here. It's Thursday the 13th of August, and please excuse my quietness on YouTube over the last couple of days. I've had my head jammed into Finding Freedom, and it is jam-packed chock full of information that I'm going to try and decipher for you guys. I'm going to try and give you the most up-to-date, in-depth review of this book that I can possibly give. Now, I can't start this video without addressing the elephant in the room. Omid Scooby has been very, very vocal on the fact whether Harry and Meghan have been involved in this book. He categorically denies any involvement of the two. But that's not what is said in the author's notes. Now, I watched Omid on Lorraine, which is a popular morning show. The presenter asked Omid, if Meghan saw you on the street, would she recognise you and say hello? Omid replied, she knows my face because of the royal beat, but we're not friends. And I say to that is absolute gubbins, because the book actually says at a meeting prior to the Commonwealth service, and I quote, after the meeting it was time to move on to the Commonwealth service at Westminster Abbey. That was when Harry quietly slipped through the door of the 1844 room to say hello, and the reality and the emotions finally set in. Meghan turned around to hug goodbye to the last remaining people in the room, including an author of this book. You don't do that if you are just passing friends, do you? Well, maybe Meghan does. Maybe she's a hugger. But it just doesn't fit right with me. And if you delve into the author's notes, this is what it says. In many instances, we've granted sources anonymity to allow freedom to candidly provide direct quotes without their names being attributed, either due to the sensitivity of the roles or to protect careers. Many individuals have also spoken to us on what is known as on background, meaning the information from the conversations can be used as guidance, but no quotes repeated. In a few cases, conversations have been strictly off the record. We have spoken with close friends of Harry and Meghan, royal aides and palace staff, past and present, the charities and organisations they have built long-lasting relationships with, and, when appropriate, the couple themselves. Now, as expected, Omid has retorted with, let's make one thing clear, there's a huge difference between exchanging a few words with a member of the royal family on an official engagement or on tour to actually interviewing them. The amount of nonsense doing the rounds right now is unreal. Unfortunately, Omid, you have said that you have spoken to the couple in your author's notes. You could have detailed a bit more about that and said on official engagements, but they weren't interviewed for the book, but that's not what you said. You left it open to criticism, and unfortunately, the amount of detail that this book goes into, and private detail as well, which I will get onto later, a lot of people, especially royal reporters and royal commentators, are now saying there is absolutely no way that Harry and Meghan could not have, whether it be directly or indirectly, been involved with this book. There's too many private instances and details. The royal author Penny Jr. said that if they hadn't been involved in this book, that they would have kicked up a fuss. It's almost support by silence, isn't it? And quite rightfully, people are now questioning if they didn't cooperate in this book, why have they not been slapped with a lawsuit? Because let's face it, Harry and Meghan are the king and the queen of filing lawsuits for breach of privacy. And this book covers many elements of that. And I have to reiterate that this is not the first time that Omid has been caught out in his own lie. Can you remember when he lied about his age? He told the Times that he was 33 when in fact he's 39. Now Richard Eden posted on Twitter, if Omid Scooby can't tell the truth about himself, why should we believe anything he writes about his heroine Meghan Markle? He posts along with his tweet a copy of a snippet from the paper, and it says the Duchess of Sussex biographer and cheerleader Omid Scooby insists everything in his hagiography, Finding Freedom, was double sourced. But what about the details of his own life? First, Scooby told the Times that he had just turned 33. Now he says he's 38. Speaking this week, the former gossip writer trilled, "Some websites say I'm 33. My age has been placed anywhere between 30 and 40 in the past 2 weeks. I'm actually 38. I can't control what websites write. Official records at Companies House state that Scooby was born July 1981, making him 39. So he said he's 33. Now he says he's 38, but he's actually 39. He's a born liar. I'm sorry. If you cannot get your own age right and be honest, how on earth are we going to believe you on the nonsense that you have printed in this hagiography? Now, as you can probably tell, I'm quite angry about this book because it's so biased that it can't possibly be titled as a biography. There is no light and dark. It's all light and sunshine. And aren't they wonderful? Aren't they fabulous? They are misrepresented. They're wonderful. They're virtuous. They are heroes. They are saints. It's nonsense, quite frankly. After reading it, my whole take can be summarised in a few words. There is deep-seated jealousy towards William and Kate from both Harry and Meghan. There is various swipes at both William and Kate in this book for various things that quite honestly are petty in my opinion. It's a score settling book, which also questions if it's score settling, they must have had something to do with it, surely. It's an incredibly biased, sycophantical hagiography. It's not a biography, and this is evidently clear when reading it. You just start rolling your eyes all the way through. In fact, my eyeballs hurt after I read it. It echoes the Andrew Morton book he did on Diana. Now, you remember he was adamant that Diana did not cooperate with writing the book. And it only transpired after Diana's death when Andrew Morton piped up, yeah, well, she did actually. She helped me. It's all nonsense. In fact, The Guardian are calling it semi-sequel to the Diana book that Andrew Morton wrote. It's that detailed that you really do have to question whether or not they had anything to do with it. It's sugary over the top on how wonderful, caring, down to earth and virtuous both Harry and Meghan are, and that they were treated absolutely appallingly by everybody in the institution. The amount of mud that slings in this book, you could almost build a forest so Harry can offset his eco-ness, travel awareness with all those trees that he wants to plant, because another thing that this book goes into detail is the amount of private jets both Harry and Meghan took that we weren't aware of. There were many, many more. And ultimately, what it comes down to is that this book is trying to put all of those stories that were out in the media that Meghan and Harry couldn't retaliate with because they were part of the institution, blows all of that down because it is one big missile against everything. And it's petty too. They really do lay it on thick how the Queen supported them both immensely and how Prince Charles also did. They almost hold them up in the most highest regard. And underneath that, way, way down on the pecking order, is William and Kate. They hold such animosity towards them. It is palpable in this book. One thing that really does concern me is the amount of brand names that are dropped constantly. One that keeps coming up time and time again are Apple products. Now, why on earth would a book that is a hagiography/biography mention that Meghan used to write her TIG blog on a MacBook, that Harry sent messages via iMessage, and that when the royal reporters and the royal rota were all huddled round before they went on their Australasia tour, they were all huddled around a iPhone 6 to get the news that Meghan was pregnant. This screams brand deals and product placement to me. And the fact that they are very, very close to Oprah, who is in cahoots with Apple is astonishing. It's just drips with brands. Who wore what at the wedding? Who wore what at the reception? What the jewellery was made of. It's brand after brand after brand. And it gets boring. You start thinking, can you try and crowbar any more in? And then you start thinking, why are these brands so mentioned in this book? Why are they doing this? Because I've never read a book that is quite so brand heavy. That question has to be seriously asked. Are they getting kickbacks from the brand for mentioning it? Why do we need to know what machine Meghan wrote her TIG blog on? Or the fact that they both use iMessage? Yes, that is actually mentioned in the book. iMessage, not a text, iMessage. Why? You've seriously got to ask that question, haven't you? Why are all of these names being dropped in a book? What's more concerning about this book, amongst everything that I'm going to discuss, is it seems that the authors have printed some very private information about Amer Hall and also the Queen's jewellery vault and how it's kept. I quote that the couple who have been engaged and living together in Kensington Palace for almost 4 months arrived at the reception room in Buckingham Palace, where they were then escorted down a secure elevator 40 feet below the palace to a large vault where 5 tiaras had been assembled for display ahead of the couple's appointment in February 2018. While typically self-assured even in the most intimidating of situations, Meghan was nervous about trying on priceless pieces of jewellery, some of which have rarely seen the light of day. There was nothing in her Southern Californian childhood, acting career, or evolution as a feminist advocating for women across the globe to suggest comfort with diamond-encrusted diadems. It continues that each tiara is stored in its own safety box within the vault, a basement room about 150 feet long that is split into sections. The large space, its size, proof of the extent of Her Majesty's collection of hundreds of tiaras, brooches, necklaces, earrings, and other jewels is not sparse or cold, like a bank vault. Instead, it's well lit, like a showroom. That's quite intimate details of rooms within Buckingham Palace, is it not? I find that quite strange that that is in the book. Incidentally, it does also go into great detail about the choice of tiara that Meghan wanted and disputes the fact that there was any falling out and that the Queen didn't say Meghan gets what I choose her, and there's no mention of Harry throwing a tantrum saying what Meghan wants, Meghan gets, blah blah blah. It's all very one-sided. With regards to Amer Hall, the book says the 10-bedroom Georgian country house on the grounds of the Sandringham estate, 2 miles from the Queen's home, had been the Queen's gift to the Cambridges. Originally intended as the country place, William and Kate had taken up full residency in Norfolk shortly after Princess Charlotte's birth, because William was serving as an East Anglian air ambulance pilot there. The couple often entertained out in their huge kitchen with its glass-roofed dining area. Friends and family from nearby gathered informally in the inviting space for the laid-back meals, a stark departure from the lunch at Buckingham Palace or Sandringham, where guests were served by full-time staff. Now, that in itself is not quite as detailed as the vault where the tiaras and the jewellery are kept, but it's still a little bit of an invasion of privacy. And for two people that are so adamant that they need privacy, it is rather strange, isn't it? But that is a prime example of the little tiny digs at William and Kate. In the book, it says that Meghan and Harry did not want to have full-time staff within their Frogmore cottage home, that they wanted part-time staff because they wanted it to be more homely. A little bit of a dig there that William and Kate had full-time staff. The book is littered with things like that, constant little tiny digs at William and Kate. The fact that Kate didn't have a career and that they felt unsupported by William and Kate, and that when they got their own team they felt supported because of that. It also goes into detail how Harry felt thrown under the bus by William and Kate. It says in the book that courtiers attended a retreat in the spring of 2019 where the concerns were openly discussed. We need to design a system to protect the monarchy, full stop, one said. It's no secret the future of this monarchy relies solely on the 4 people currently in Kensington Palace. The public popularity only lies with them. When he, the Prince of Wales, becomes king, only way it lasts is if the four of them are not at war. We cannot have them at war. Harry was upset it was playing out so publicly and that so much of the information being reported was wrong, a source said. There's been moments where he felt people working with his brother had put things out there to make William look good, even if it meant throwing Harry under the bus. There it is, laying blame at William because he felt that the message coming out of the institution of the monarchy was that the only way that the monarchy can survive is by protecting William and making William look good, and ergo they must throw mud at Harry and Meghan. He's putting the blame squarely there. The book also implies that negative stories were coming from within the institution itself. It says palace staff admitted frustration over the negative or untrue stories appearing day after day in the British tabloids, yet it could hardly have come as a surprise that leaks were happening internally. One courtier privately bragged to friends at their ability to place a story, positive or negative, in any publication at the click of a finger. Yet another told a respected newspaper editor that he could handle anything after putting up with one of Meghan's temper tantrums. Several staff described to the authors of this book the atmosphere inside the three households as competitive, miserable and full on. It even goes into detail about how Meghan felt after the Commonwealth service, that she felt emotionally bruised and exhausted by the frosty reception that she got from both William and Kate. The book claims that the Sussexes had made the monarchy more relatable to those who had never before felt a connection. However, there were concerns that the couple should be brought into the fold. Otherwise, if left as they were, the establishment feared their popularity might eclipse that of the royal family itself. It echoes that was similarities between Harry's mother Diana. The book quoted political editor Tim Shipman from the Sunday Times saying, "The danger to them is that Meghan is going to be bigger than Diana. Meghan did not enjoy universal support within the institution of the monarchy, and some of the British tabloid media painted her as a threat, but she had been widely embraced by the public. For people of all different backgrounds, at home in the UK and abroad, Meghan was a trailblazer." One thing's for sure in this book is that they are painting William and Kate as the ones that wanted them out, the ones that felt that Harry and Meghan would jeopardize everything that they had built, and they are blaming it all on them. It's pure jealousy at the end of the day. There's no animosity towards Prince Charles or the Queen. They themselves are painted in this book as the ones that have guided Harry and Meghan and supported them. You know, it's quoted that the Queen gave Meghan a masterclass in training on her visit up to Chester with the Queen. It really lays it on thick how Meghan feels towards Prince Charles as well. And it said that Meghan found such a supportive and loving father in Charles, which has really changed her life for the better. Not a father-in-law, but a second father, according to a source. Allegedly, Meghan ticks the boxes. Most of all, she's married to his beloved youngest son and makes him whole. Charles takes enormous delight in pleasure in that. It's so drippingly sweet towards Charles and the Queen, and often Camilla as well, and then just so venomous towards William and Kate. It's like polar opposites. I am just flabbergasted that all of this book contained, to be perfectly honest. So that's it for this video. I'm gonna go on to do another video where it will detail in how much private details that they have released in the book, and of which there are many ones. I'd love to know your thoughts on everything that I have talked about in this video. What do you think of the Omid Scooby and his lies, the fact of his age, the fact that he said that they hadn't been involved in it, and the author's note says that it did, but then he's disputed that fact. Who is lying and who is telling the truth? What did you think of the brand deals that I mentioned? Do you think they're in cahoots with the brands that are mentioned in the book, of which there are many ones in great detail, who wore what and why and when, and it's just so obvious, isn't it? What about the fact that it's so venomous with regards to how Harry and Meghan feel towards William and Kate? Do you think that's fairly justified, or do you think it's just petty? As always, I would love to know your thoughts. I hope I have done this portion of the book justice, and I will speak to you very shortly. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.